Hello, my friends. Avalanche coin AVAX for the month of June 2022. This is a 1 month overview. The overall theme and behavior, we meet a resistance level. That's an important resistance level because we break down from that resistance level with increasing volatility as we move forward through the month. It's crossed with a notable decline, so there's a notable range of price range that's traversed, if you will, in this decline, and it marks an opportunity at a bottom in the midst of the decline to open up a long position. And this is on a multi-month chart, that type of opportunity. It goes hand in hand with the behavior at the low. The low significator is the Princess of Cups, correlates with the Ace of Cups, very, very similar energies. So at the low, opportunity to open up long positions in the midst of a decline. The behavior around the high, we have so the behavior around the high, we establish support around the high. This is a pretty bullish card to have in a high significator position. So at the month's high, we establish new support. Interesting. Or we attempt to establish new support. Interesting. All right, well, for day one, actually, before we do that, so behavior around the high, around that support, we're going to have sideways fluidity, equal amounts of bulls and bears, so we'll go kind of sideways for a bit. Hitting resistance, it's important resistance, and breaking down from there after hitting resistance, and moving sideways as though maybe we make it support just briefly. Looks like we reached the month's high once. We don't revisit it again. Behavior around the low, there's a trade opportunity around the low. Looks like we meet the low once in the month, and it's a deep decline into the low. At which point we meet a price level. We can use a significator of the peace card as the price level significator there, and it'll be an important bottom, an important trough on the multi-month chart. On the first, we have a trade opportunity. Looks like we have a day trade opportunity here, but the theme of the day is a cash-in opportunity. So, yeah, so there's a breakout. So one local low and one local high. So what do I mean by local lows and local highs? If you're looking at a one-day chart, you'll see a prominent high and a prominent low. One prominent high, one prominent low, a local high, a local low. All right, so and then there's two trade opportunities in there as well in the midst of that. So there's a day trade opportunity in there. Looks like an important a ruler of nations will be highlighted around the low. Behavior will be a back and forth, crisscrossing 3 times through the same price level, and the third cross confirms a bullish trend. We move higher along a diagonal trend line, breaking through horizontal resistance to meet a second resistance before pulling back to somewhere between those two levels. And looks like from that high we decline and meet a support level and then bounce along sideways along the support level. We have our first month's high on the second. There's sideways price swings with a bullish slant to them near the high. We meet resistance and then we break down from resistance with increasing volatility as we move into the end of the day. There's a notable fake out, shakeout, intentional shakeout, fake out here on the second as well. So be careful about that. Looks like we may revisit a high. We may revisit the high or close to it. We have a high on the 2nd and the 3rd, it looks like, in the midst of bullish price swings. And there's a day trade opportunity here on the 3rd as well. So one local low, and in the midst of the local low, there'll be sideways movement back and forth 3 times through the same price level, confirming a bullish trend. It looks like that low will likely be around the same low as the local low as we had on the 1st. Both indicated, both correlating to the Emperor. And out of the low, we will move higher along diagonal trend line with sideways price swings, but along a diagonal trend line, breaking through horizontal resistance, meeting a second resistance, and pulling back somewhere between those 2 price levels. On the 4th, we have one local high, one local low, so a prominent high and one prominent low on a chart for a one-day chart for the 4th. To reach the high, we're going to go up through resistance, stay there briefly, and then retrace that movement that brought us up through resistance. We'll retrace it back down through support. Same price level there. Sideways fluctuations out of the local low with a bullish trend that it precedes a decline. And it looks like the overall behavior of the day on the 4th is going to be selling down to and through a support level, and then back up to reuse that level as support again. So to and through, and then back up 1. So down 2, up 1, and using that as support. On the 5th, we have a month's low, or first month's low, looks like. After meeting, after a sharp decline, we meet a month's low, and we move sideways along a piece level. Volatility kind of peters out around the low there. We retest the resistance level on the 5th, and then it looks like we fall to the piece level there at a month's low. The following day, the 6th, we have 2 local lows on a one-day chart, 2 local highs on a one-day chart, and 1 local low on a one-day chart. One trade indicating a swing trade opportunity here. It's a bullish day. We have a move higher, a notable move higher, possibly with a bit of a retracement towards the end of the day, but a bullish move out of a low that from that low we have sideways fluctuations with a bullish slant to them that precedes a decline. There's a breakout to reach one of the local highs, and then at one of the local highs we have a move higher through resistance, and then we retrace that back down through that same price level. The trade has something to do with a sharp dip within a period of volatility, somewhere around there. On the 7th, we have another local low. It looks like, another month's low here, or a prominent trough, I should say, here on the 7th. There's a trade opportunity at that low, and then there's a big move higher out of that low. Actually looks like a lot of volatility in here these 3 days here, because we have a month's low, and they're all bullish days. So it's like we probably gap down, move higher, gap down, move higher, something like that. But we have a prominent trough on the 7th, a month's low on the 8th, prominent trough on the 9th. But we also have a prominent move higher on the 7th, prominent move higher on the 8th, probably from being oversold. And then on the 9th, we have a sharp move downward to meet a, like I said, prominent trough. Looks like that month's low there is at that piece level again on the 8th. Okay, so on the 6th, I'll want to On the 6th, I'll want to open up probably a short position there. We'll see when we get closer to sell end of day or early end of day on the 7th or early morning on the 8th. Another swing trade opportunity on the 9th. And a prominent trough there. In swing trade takes place near the low, near the prominent trough after a deep decline. We meet support on the 10th. We move sideways rotation. We see sideways rotation along support, and then there's a fast sudden move higher, marking the end of that rotation. Trade opportunity in there. Surrounding a sudden dip within a period of volatility. On the 11th, we successfully create new support out of old resistance. But there's also a notable decline from one local high there to break down through support to meet a second support, and then we move sideways along that support. We have a month's high again here on the 12th. One local low, one swing trade opportunity, and we have opportunity to position ourselves on both sides of the market. If you can open up short position and a long position with crypto, I'm not really sure. Do that. Otherwise, it's an opportunity to trade within a period of volatility. Sideways fluctuations around a resistance level near the local high. And then we have increasing volatility as we move forward throughout the day. Looks like we fall from a high that we're not going to see again for at least a few days, it looks like. And in there as well, the bullish part of that back and forth wild behavior that we have on the 12th, it'll be along a diagonal trend line, breaking through horizontal resistance, meeting a second resistance, and pulling back to somewhere between those two. On the 13th, we have a U-shaped dip with sideways rotation around the low. It'll just move kind of like sideways, equal amounts of bulls and bears. Behavior around the high will have a move higher through resistance, followed by a decline back down through that same price level briefly after. And there's one local high, one local low there on that day. Looks like I'm also advised to open up protection there on the 13th, or 12th of the 13th. On the 14th, we have a notable move higher, but there's a trade opportunity in the midst of that. Okay, on the 14th, it's a little tricky. I'm not going to say a notable move higher. It's a notable move. It could be higher or it could be lower, but it's a notable move. And there's a trade opportunity in the midst of a period of volatility where there's a sharp dip in the midst of that volatility. A deep decline into the 15th where we have a month's low, and then we move higher, prominent move higher, but that's fully retraced on the 15th as well, so move higher, back down. Either that or we have a big move higher on the 14th, followed by our full retracement on the 15th to a month's low. Holding pattern on the 16th until an important decision is made, something in the news having to do with either Congress or someone in the news. It's like something to do with legislation. And there's a decline through support to meet a second support, and then we move sideways along that support. That's the 16th. On the 17th, important resistance levels met, and then we decline with increasing volatility as we move forward throughout the day. There's one swing trade opportunity, one local low, one local high. Moving into the low, looks like we don't revisit the high that we fall from here for quite some time. Doesn't look like we revisit it for the rest of the month even. Sideways fluidity, equal bulls and bears around the local high. And a trade opportunity surrounding a move higher along a diagonal trend line, breaking through resistance, meeting a second one, then pulling back to somewhere between those two price levels. On the 18th, an important price level is highlighted. This will be a significant high price level and signified by the science card. And a horizontal, it'll be an important resistance level, I should say, possibly with some more volatility falling out of that. On the 19th, one local high, one local low, with a sideways S formation between resistance and support. So it'll be like a decline, an incline back to resistance, and then a decline back to support. Around the local high, there's going to be a move higher through resistance and then back down briefly thereafter through that same price level. And sideways fluidity rotation around support at the low. We're range bound on the 20th. Looks like a deep decline. A deep decline to a month's prominent trough on the 20th. Looks like we likely gap down overnight here on the 20th to the 21st. Let me retract that. We have the month's prominent troughs on the 20th or early on the 21st, but we have a move higher, a prominent move higher early in the morning on the 21st. To reach a high midday, it may be in a prominent crest here. To reach a high midday, and then we fall back down through that resistance price level that we had broken through. We fall back down through that. Out of the low, there is a sideways fluctuation with an incline, but it precedes a notable decline. On the 22nd, we have a failed attempt to break through resistance, followed by a decline through an important support level. That's a prominent trough for the month as well, and a trade opportunity there around that low there, or that prominent trough. Steep decline here on the 22nd, and a swing trade opportunity as well. On the 23rd, we have the majority of the behavior on the 23rd is going to be bumping along resistance. It looks like we do have a breakout, so we break out, bump along resistance, probably break out again, bump along resistance. May do that a few times, but majority of the time for the day will be bumping along resistance. That'll be the important part of the day. We have a crest on the 24th, and multiple headwinds push push the coin lower. On the 25th, we have another prominent trough, and a steep decline here on the 25th. We fall through a support to a second support, bounce along that support for a little bit, and then we break down through multiple support levels. On the 26th, we have a swing trade opportunity and one local high. There is a notable decline here on the 26th, especially towards the end of the day. Looks like from the local high, we decline through support to meet a second one, and then we move around sideways. Prominent trough here towards the end of the day on the 26th. We have a almost irrational rally higher, move higher on the 27th to reach a distant resistance level. There's a breakout on that day to reach the local high, one prominent high on the 27th one-day chart. And then we have another prominent trough for the month on the 28th. After a sharp decline, out of that decline there is a notable move higher. So out of that prominent trough, notable move higher, and a steep decline to meet that trough and prominent month trough. On the 29th, we have another swing trade opportunity in the midst of a move out off of a support level. It'll be a prominent move higher on a multi-day chart. On the 30th, we have a local high, a local low, a prominent decline, and we reach a new month's low at a piece price level. From the high, we fall sharply, and then eventually we meet a support and we move sideways along support. Basically, volatility peters out right around the low there, and it's a month's low there on the 30th. Sneak preview card for the following month is going to be rotation along support with a important high there. So it looks like we establish support and then we move higher. And that's June 2022 for AVAX, Avalanche coin. Let me know what you think, my friends, by hitting that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. We want to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of July at the latest. So much appreciated for your support. And if you have hit that subscribe button, then do somebody a favor and send them this video. Share it with them, somebody that it'll help. And I don't just necessarily mean by trading. It could be just expanding their mind. Look what's possible. But most importantly, guys, when you make money from this reading, pay that forward. I'll see you on the next one.